At 11 years old, my brain was hijacked. A lot of you guys clicked on this video wondering what this is about, and by the title of this video, you probably can assume. This video is going to be one of the most vulnerable, transparent videos I've ever made on my channel, and the reason why I'm making it, the reason why I'm going to talk about how porn has completely controlled and changed my life for the past 10, 11, 12, 13 years, is because I know so many guys who struggle with this. Grown men, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. There is no age limit on how old you can be and struggling with pornography. So that's why I'm speaking about this in this video, and I'm gonna walk you guys through exactly how it's controlled my life, and hopefully you guys can take away some of the things that I've learned along the way. Hopefully you guys will resonate with my story, and I'm going to talk about how I actually overcame something that's controlled my life for over 10 years. So it started at 11 years old, guys. I was 11 years old, and something you should know about me is that growing up, I was always, you could say I was always interested in women, right? From a very young age, from like, as long as I've had memories, guys, from like daycare, I remember crushing on girls, right? Crushing on girls in my daycare, crushing on girls in like kindergarten and first grade. So I was always that type of guy. Like, I've always had that drive in me from literally from being a toddler. But I've never actually knew about things like, you know, pornography, things like sex and things like that until I was 11 years old. And so here's the story of how porn has literally held captive of my mind from 11 years old. So at 11 years old, I was in 4th grade, and I had some cousins, right? Not cousins necessarily, but like guys that I would speak to. I call them my cousins. And one day I was over at this guy's house. Now, mind you, this guy who I was like friends, cool with, right? He was a few years older than me. So if I was 11, he was around 15 years old, right? And so I'm over at his house, right? We were playing like the PlayStation back then. And he was like, "Hey, Max, you want to see something?" I was like, yeah, I want to see what you got. He was like, "Yes, I got something really cool for you to watch." And you know, little old 11-year-old Max, I'm thinking that he's going to show me some new cartoon, some like Power Rangers film, but it wasn't that. It wasn't a childish cartoon. In fact, it was something that was going to control my life for the next 10 years minimum from that moment on. He pulled up his computer screen, and if you guys see me looking down and like scratching myself, it's because I'm in the woods and there's like a bunch of bugs around me. But I thought it would fit the vibe of this video, so that's why I'm here. He pulls up his laptop and he goes on this website, right? I'm sure you guys know what that website is. And when I tell you guys, I've never seen something like that in my life, because the video that he showed me, guys, it wasn't some vanilla type of like sex. It wasn't some type of like regular, you know, missionary man to woman. No, it was something pretty hardcore. Definitely hardcore for an 11-year-old to see and witness with his own eyes. I'm not gonna get into too many details of what the video is, but it was a girl on a girl, right? It was a lesbian film, and they were doing some hardcore shit in that video. And prior to seeing that video, I didn't even know like what a woman's parts looked like. I literally didn't know. Like I didn't know what they looked like until then. And so I remember the moment I saw that video, it was like my entire perception of women has completely changed. Because up to that point of being 11 years old, I always viewed women as like this like innocent creature who's like, you know, nothing like men and things like that. But once I seen that film that he showed me, it completely changed. It completely killed all innocence that I had perceiving women. I was at a loss of words. I didn't even know what to say, but he turned off the video, right? And from that moment, like I never went back on the website. I didn't even know what website it was. I had no idea that I had no idea what like sex really even was at that time. I kept hanging around this kid who, once again, he was a few years older than me, and so were his friends. I remember one day, like, one of his friends tells me, "Hey, Max, you know how babies are born, right?" I'm like, "What?" And at that point, I thought like babies were like, I would ask my parents about it, and they would just tell me like, "Oh, you know, we connect our like saliva or something like that, and it makes a baby." And like that's kind of the fairy tale that they told me, you know, to preserve my innocence. But that killed my perception of the innocence of my parents, because then I realized, hey, my parents had to do this thing which I viewed as disgusting, right? I viewed it as disgusting. And I was like, damn, my parents did this nasty thing, and that's how I was born. It completely warped my perception on life. But what does this even have to do with porn? Well, over time, as I was spending time with this guy, I was basically numbing myself more and more to the idea of sex and to the idea of other people having sex. And so, mind you, I was 11, 12 years old as this was going on. So very young, right? Very young. And it just completely changed my perception on it. Now, going into middle school, that's when I got my first like iPod, right? I had the iPod Touch. And so I had access 24/7 basically to the internet as long as I had Wi-Fi. And so I had Instagram since I was in 6th grade, guys. Back then, I still didn't know how to get to like those adult websites, right? I didn't know how to get on them, but I had this urge. Like since 6th grade, I've had sexual urges. I would go on pages of like bikini brands, right? Swimwear bikini brands. And there was one in particular that I would always go on, right? As a 6th grader, okay? I was like 12 years old, 11 years old at the time. And I'm going on this Instagram page, and I would catch myself getting hard, right? In 6th grade. Now, that's normal, right? Normal male anatomy, biology. I had this urge to touch myself, to do something about the urge. And so basically, guys, I would beat off to bikini pictures of grown women in 6th grade. That's how I would get off. Not to get too vulgar on you guys, like at that point, I wasn't even able to release, right? I had the orgasm feeling, and I'm sure some of you guys can resonate with this. Like I had the orgasm feeling. I could accomplish an orgasm, I could climax, but I would never be able to, you know, build up the ejaculate, right? I can't believe I'm fucking saying this on video, but that's the truth, right? That's how it was. And so I would get the dopamine release, but nothing would ever come out. And I knew that something was supposed to come out. You see, I was friends with these two girls who were 2 grades above me. So I was like in 6th grade, and they were like in 8th grade, right? And they were hypersexual, right? In 8th grade, they were hypersexual. Like they knew all about it. They knew what porn was. They knew about like all of these things, and they would tell me about it, right? We would have group chat conversations every single night. I would stay up till like 2, 3 a.m. talking to these girls. And then a lot of times the topic would be about sex. Like I would ask them for advice on girls, like girls in school that I had crushes on. I remember them bringing up to me the fact that, oh, I'm supposed to be able to release. I'm supposed to be able to, you know, ejaculate. And I was like, oh, why can't I do that? Right? And so it was always on my mind. It was like, oh, why can't I do that? I didn't realize that, oh, maybe it's because I'm 12 years old and, you know, my body hasn't fully developed yet to be able to do this. But I thought there was something wrong with me. And so I went from maybe doing this, like beating off as a 6th grader, maybe once, twice a week, to doing it literally every single day. Every single day, because I had this thought in my mind of, oh, I need to be able to do this. I need to be able to release, right? That's what men are supposed to be able to do. And if I can't do this, well, then I'm never going to be able to have kids, right? And so I looked at it as like this problem that I needed to overcome. And mind you, my brain was already traumatized. It was already scarred from the porn that I saw at 11 years old in the 4th grade. Like that video still stuck with me, right? It wasn't actively on my mind, but as I became more and more active in my sex life as a 6th grader, it became more and more top of mind to me. And so I would literally every single day I would try to release, right? I would go on that bikini page on Instagram and try to release. And then I still remember the day, guys. It was New Year's Day. Okay, it was New Year's Day. I was staying up and I went on that same page, that bikini page. I went to the bathroom. I did my thing. And for the very first time, I saw something come out. I released, right? And at that point, my entire paradigm shifted. I was like, yo, I'm grown now. I can do this. I'm not broken. Even though I achieved the goal, which was getting myself to be able to release, I still developed this addiction, basically. This addiction, this bad habit of staying up every single night and masturbating. I remember that same day when I was able to release, I told them about it, right? I hit up the group chat. I was like, yo, guess what? Guess what? I bust the nut, right? That's literally how the conversation went. And they were like, oh, you're all grown up now. Like, it was weird, man. But then they told me about porn. And I was like, you know, the concept of that, the idea of that, it sounds familiar, right? It sounds familiar. And I figured out how to actually gain access to those websites. And from there, this was around 7th grade. From there, my life just went downhill. I was exposed to something much, much darker, much more evil, much more demonic, right? You guys know how those websites can be. And I felt like I had like this entire like new world to discover. I had this entire new world to discover, and I thought it was normal. I thought it was normal because, number one, I listened to a lot of rap music. They always talked about, you know, having sex, sleeping with girls, all of these things. And then on top of that, I understood that, hey, my parents did this thing in order to create me. So I thought it was a part of life, which it is. Sex is a part of life, right? We are on this earth for a reason, to procreate, right? That's our number one biological mission as a man, to procreate. So it is normal, but watching other people have sex is not normal. It's not normal at all. And I couldn't make that difference in 7th grade. I thought it was perfectly okay. Every single night from that night, I would watch new videos, and they progressively got worse and worse and worse. And then as I got into high school, that's when, you know, puberty hits in, right? Your testosterone increases. You start having urges 24/7, and you don't know what to do with them. But I knew what to do with them, right? So every time I had an urge, I would literally do it probably around, there was a point I was doing like 6 times a day. I would do it before school in order to be able to go to school. It got to the point where I was a freshman in high school, and I did this thing. I had this bad habit, right, which I didn't really realize was bad, but I had this habit. But I knew that I wanted to be with a girl too. I knew I wanted the real thing. I was like, okay, yeah, like a part of me knew that I can't just keep watching people do what I want to do. I want to actually go out and do it myself. Then I got my first girlfriend. My first girlfriend in high school. I was 14 years old. And what happened with that relationship, guys, was we went out for like 6 months straight. And I was always trying to like convince her to have sex, right? And she always told me, oh, she wants to wait. And so this was my first girlfriend. I thought it was normal, right, that a girl wants to wait. And I didn't realize that this just meant that she's not really that into me. But we ended up breaking up. Me and my first girlfriend ended up breaking up. And as we were broken up, I actually ended up meeting this other girl with whom I had sex with for the first time, right? She was a bit older than me. I lost my virginity. I was 15 years old when I lost it, all right? 15 years old. My first experience was not bad at all. But then I actually ended up getting back with my ex. And this is where the negative effects really of porn have really destroyed my life. And like, this is where I really started to see come into fruition in my life, because up to this point, I never really experienced the negative effects except for the lack of energy. Like, sometimes I would literally do it before school to give myself energy to go to school. But there were a lot of symptoms, don't get me wrong, in middle school and high school from all the porn that I was consuming that have affected me. I just didn't realize it was from that, right? until this happened. So I get back with my ex, and this time she's like, hey, I'm ready to, you know, sleep with you. And I'm like, I bet. You know, I already had my first experience, so I was ready to do it. And we ended up doing it, or else trying to do it, because when she was right in front of me, you know, and her curves, all of that, like fully naked girl in front of me, and I was attracted to her. Don't get me wrong, I was very attracted to my ex. In fact, I was probably more attracted to her like than the first girl that I slept with. Even though I was attracted in my mind, I couldn't get up. And I've never told this story online before. Can't really believe I'm making this video, but fuck it. This is just me being vulnerable with you guys. Like, I literally cannot get up with this girl. And it was one of the most embarrassing, if not the most embarrassing moment of my life at that point. Because this was a girl who I've basically been asking her, like, hey, let's have sex for like 6 months straight. And then we finally get to do the thing, and I can't even get up. All sorts of things were going wrong. She thought that I wasn't attracted to her. She thought that she did something wrong. It gets worse, guys. It gets worse, because at this point, I really want to do it, right? I'm finally here. I'm finally with a girl that I've been thinking about sleeping with for the past year, and I can't get up. I'm like, okay, I need to do something. I need to save the situation. So I'm like, hey, you stay right there. I'll be right back. And when I say I'll be right back, I literally walked maybe like 15 feet away from this girl. We were still in the same room, right? And I pull out my phone, and I catch myself going on the hub while my girl, who was naked on the bed a couple feet away from me, I'm going on my phone, and I'm looking at porn. I'm beating off, like, right in front of her, basically. Try to get myself up so that I can satisfy this girl. And it worked. To be fair, it worked. I got up, right? I got up, and then I got to her, and I was able to, you know, do the deed, right? I was able to finish the mission. I kept replaying that moment over and over and over in my head. All of the feelings that I was feeling, and the shame, the guilt that I felt, the fact that I couldn't get up. And I realized that for the first moment, I realized that this was all because of all of the porn that I've been watching up until that point. It's because I trained my mind to receive sexual gratification from this external thing, from this artificial thing. And for the first time in my life, I seen the consequences of this problem, of this addiction play out in real life. In that moment, I realized that this is not good for me. But unfortunately, I still kept doing it. I couldn't get myself to stop. You would think that, hey, you know, you're in this traumatizing experience. You can't get up in front of a girl that you really like it's super embarrassing. You would think that this would get you to stop. But I wasn't able to stop, guys. I kept watching porn. I kept masturbating, right? I was in high school. My hormones were at an all-time high. It only got worse from there. Because in high school, I ended up getting pretty good with girls. Like, I wasn't awkward around them, right? At one point I was, but I started doing more self-improvement, and, you know, I improved my looks. I started dressing a little better. Some of you guys may have known, like, the story. I've talked about this hundreds of times on my channel before, but I did a little bit of self-improvement, basically. And I started talking to a lot more girls. I started going out with a lot more girls. And because I was getting away with it, because I was still able to attract girls in school, because I was still getting the attention I wanted from girls in school, because I still felt confident in school, I didn't think that porn was that big of a deal in order for me to cut out. Because I ended up still being sexually active after that girl who I couldn't get up with. I was still sexually active after that with different girls in high school, and I didn't really see a problem. Like, I was able to get up after that. I was able to do my thing. I just knew that, hey, I can't do this right before I'm about to have sex. That's one thing I learned. Like, don't bust a nut before you have sex, right? unless you want to be stuck with a gummy worm. Until I got into this long-term relationship in high school. Now, this relationship was with a girl that I found very, very attractive, right? Some of you guys already know the story. She was the girl who friend-zoned me freshman year, and then she ended up coming back. But I get into a long-term relationship with this girl, and at this point, we're having sex damn near every single day, right? After school. And so I'm hyperly, like, sexually active. And at the same time, my hormones are high because I'm like in my peak teenage years. I'm like 16, 17 years old at the time. Those two things combined, and I just became a hornball. I became a hornball. Like, I would have sex with my girlfriend, guys, come home. Right before work, I would beat off again, go to work, come home, and beat off again to go to sleep. Like, having sex was not enough for me. I still needed that external stimulation. I could not get rid of it. I could not get rid of it. Sex was great. Sex was great. We had a great time. But I couldn't get rid of it. Once again, I didn't really see this as a problem. I didn't really see this as a problem until I started experiencing some issues in the relationship with my girlfriend at the time. And then, guys, I literally had dreams of my girl cheating on me. And sometimes it would be like the scenes that I watched. Like, I would recognize like the scene. It would be a scene that I watched, except the girl in the video would be my girlfriend. Like, these were literally the things that I would go to sleep dreaming about, right? And I would have those dreams, guys. And I would like project it onto my girlfriend. I'll be like, oh, are you cheating on me? Oh, is this like a sign? Oh, like, you know, I never brought them up to my girl, but I was acting very resentful because of it. But really, it was all just because of the addiction that I built up over the years. It got worse and worse. It started to captivate my mind. I was doing it before I went to sleep, so of course I started dreaming about it, right? I'm having sex with my girl. I'm beating off before I go to bed. Those two things, I start having these weird dreams, right? That's when I realized, yeah, I need to stop this, right? Because we ended up going through a breakup, and at that breakup, that's when I hit rock bottom. That's when I fully dove deeper into the vices that I had. I started smoking more. I was smoking at the time. I started drinking more. I started watching even more porn. At that time, it was quarantine, right? The world shut down. And so everyone was kind of isolated. Everyone was at home. Social life was non-existent. And so I started watching a lot more porn. And then I got on personal development, guys. I got on personal development, and I realized that not only did I quit my vices like smoking, drinking. I'm almost 5 years sober from smoking now. I'm going to be 5 years sober in December, right? I realized that this one thing is basically the reason why I've done everything else. This was the biggest escape of my entire life. This is the one thing that's holding me back from becoming the man I want. The reason why I'm making this content right now, guys, is because like I've had this vision for myself. Like for those of you guys that don't know who I am, right? And you just clicked on this video randomly, I'm a full-time coach for men. I help men with their self-improvement. I help men get into the best shape of their life. I help men with their dating lives specifically, right? And I've always wanted to make content about this because I've always kind of been the guy to give people advice, right? People would always come to me asking for advice with women, asking for advice on their physique, things like that. This was something that I've always wanted to do. And even like back in 2022, I still have some videos up on my page from that time. But I was never able to stay consistent with it. And it was because of this one thing. It was because this one thing has kept me self-sabotaging my entire life ever since I was 11 years old. And until I finally destroyed the version of myself that was addicted to this demonic thing, I was never able to fully go after my goals, build this business out, get into even better shape, and really just have like the biggest thing that it's done for me, guys. I finally feel like myself when I'm out in public. I feel unapologetically myself, because before then, Even though I was still in decent shape, even though I was getting some attention from women, when I would go out in public, I would feel like almost like apologetic for being myself, apologetic for being in shape, right? I was feeling like sorry for who I was. But now, like, I really don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. If there's anything that you take from this video, is that your addiction to porn is most likely not even your fault, but you have to take full accountability for continuing this thing in your life, especially as a grown man. Because a lot of the guys that come to me for help with their dating lives, for all of you guys who are younger, in your 20s, even 30s, guys, I have guys in their 50s reach out to me with full families, okay? I have guys who reach out to me, they have a wife, they have kids, and they tell me that they're addicted to porn. They can't satisfy their wife no longer wants to sleep with them. And these are real things that I hear on a very often basis with the guys who reach out to me for help. And it's started all because of this addiction, because they weren't able to kick this addiction from a young age, right? They were exposed to it from an early age, probably before they were 13 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old. So some guys, like nowadays with the rise of technology, kids have iPads at like fucking 6 years old. More and more children are being exposed to this demonic thing, this thing that's meant to keep men on a low vibrational level. And until you can finally get this thing out of your life, you're never going to be able to reach that next level. That next level of vibration. I'm not even talking about the next level of success, because success is subjective. One guy thinks success is 10 million in the bank. Another guy thinks success is having a family and kids. Success is subjective, right? But there's plenty of celebrities, guys. There's plenty of athletes. There's plenty of like these famous, wealthy people who, on paper, their life looks so good. They have a family, they're rich, they're financially free, they're fit, and yet they still come out and they talk about how porn has literally conquered and controlled their lives, their entire life. If they don't take control of it back, if they don't take back control of their life, it ends up destroying them, ends up destroying their career, it ends up destroying their marriage, destroying their family life. And I'm gonna just be real with you, bro. If you're watching this right now and you're struggling with this thing, understand that, listen, the world was programmed from a very early age to get you stuck into this habit. They wanted you to be exposed to this before your brain has barely even developed. That's just the way it is. But you can't keep blaming the world for this. You can't keep blaming, oh, it's Instagram, oh, it's this, it's that, it's the advertisements I see. Listen, you're a fully grown man now, right? It's probably gonna be the hardest thing that you do in your life, kicking this habit, kicking this addiction. It's gonna be the hardest thing you do in your life, but I promise you, once you do, you're gonna become unrecognizable, right? You're gonna become a completely new man. You're finally gonna become the version of yourself that can do everything that you've wanted to do up until this point. All of those dreams that you've tossed away, put to the side. That dream girl that you've always wanted, that caliber of girls. You're too afraid to speak to a woman in public. Why? It's because you know, I guarantee you stop beating off for at least a month and see how much more stronger your desire is going to be. How you literally start to force yourself to put yourself in environments where you can speak to women, where you can meet new women, where you can approach them, where you can escalate with them, because your body's going to have no other choice. You're finally going to go back and realign yourself with the man that you were meant to be. You have to take accountability for this. You have to, because the moment that you realize that, hey, you getting addicted to this, maybe it wasn't in your control. In my case, I was 11 years old. I was exposed to this shit. You getting addicted to this was not in your control, but you kicking the addiction once and for all, that's fully in your control. You're a full-grown man now. You make your decisions. If you can't force yourself to make that decision, nobody's gonna do it for you. I can't do it for you. Your brother can't do it for you. Your father can't do it for you. Your family can't do it for you. Really just like ask yourself, what type of life do you truly want for yourself, and how bad do you want that life? You might end up getting married. You might end up having kids. But what happens if your family finds out about this addiction that you've had? for the past 20 years, 30 years. You think you're going to be able to show up as that father figure for your kids, for your wife? You think you're going to show up as that same leader at work if you still have this one thing that's like tying you down? I know I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. And I realized that I will forever be a shell of the person that I wanted to be unless I kick this habit. Not even a habit, it's an addiction. Unless I kick this addiction, it's not going to be easy at all. You're going to have to quit, relapse, quit, relapse. You're going to fucking relapse 1,000 times before you finally quit once and for all. I'm telling you right now, right? I'm telling you right now, you're going to relapse 1,000 times. But listen, as long as you keep getting back on the path, that means that you're aware. Some people, they're aware, but they don't even view it as a problem. For the majority of my life, I didn't even view this thing as a problem. Once you can become aware, you will subconsciously try to avoid it, right? And then you're gonna fall on your face hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times until you don't, until you fully get back up and you continue on the fucking path that you are meant to be on. But I don't want you to fall on your face 100 times. I don't want you to go 5, 10, 20 years before you can finally kick this thing, or maybe even never. I don't want this for you guys. And that's why, like, you know, the majority of the work that I do is just help men become the best, most physically fit, most attractive version of themselves so they can have the dating life that they want, right? But the way that I do this with my clients is that I help them refine their habits first. I help them work on the internal, right? Who they are as a person, what they do on a regular basis. And then I help them leverage that in how they present themselves, with the photos they take, with all of these external things, the outfits they have, their look, so they can attract the woman they want. But if you're a man that wants to finally break free from this addiction that's literally held you hostage for who knows how long, if you want my personal help with this so that you can become the type of man that can attract any woman that he wants, that's confident, that can approach any woman that he wants, that's in the best shape of his life, truly master yourself as a man. If you want my personal help with this, there's going to be a link in the description below. You can book a call with me, see if you qualify from my one-on-one coaching program. We're just going to break down your situation in detail, what your life is looking like, where you want to take it, where you want to take your physique, your dating life, etc. We're a good fit, and we're going to get you onboarded, and we're going to create this roadmap to greatness for you. And if you have any questions whatsoever about anything I brought up in this video, or just like you want to speak to me, my Instagram is also pinned in the comments and in the description below. I answer all of my DMs. I do get a lot of DMs, so just please be patient, but I answer every single DM as long as you're not asking me anything too stupid, right? But you can ask me a question on Instagram. I will get back to you, or you can click that link and make a decision for your future self today. This was a very important video today, guys, and I'm glad I made it. I'm glad I made it. This message is going to get to the people who are meant to hear it. So I'll see you boys soon. Stay dangerous.